When Karen found out that another baby was on the way, she did what she could to help her 3-year-old son, Michael, prepare for a new sibling. And so they found out that the new baby was going to be a girl. And day after day, night after night, Michael, the 3-year-old boy, would sing to his sister inside the mommy's tummy. And some of us might think, that's useless. But you know what? They're finding out right now the baby there is actually can can hear. And, it actually responds. I saw this picture of a tummy. Can you see the foot of the baby right there? And, they respond. And so right now, they sell not headphones, but tummy phones that you can place there and then have, a music so that the baby can hear. And so this 3-year-old boy, Michael, sang to his little sister right there inside the tummy. And the song he kept singing to his sister is the song, I wish I can sing, but you know this song? You're my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You know that song. And so night after night, he would sing to his little sister inside mommy's tummy. He was building a bond of love with his little sister before he even met her. The pregnancy progressed normally for Karen. In time, the labor pains came. Soon it was every 5 minutes, every 3 minutes, every minute. But serious complications arose during delivery, and Karen found herself in hours of labor. Would a cesarean section be required? Finally, after a long struggle, Michael's little sister was born. But she was in a very serious condition. She was rushed to the neonatal intensive care unit at St. Mary's Hospital, Knoxville, Tennessee. The days inched by, the little girl got worse. The pediatrician had to tell the parents there is very little hope. Be prepared for the worst. Karen and her husband contacted a local cemetery about a burial plot. They had fixed up a special room in their house for their new baby, but now they found themselves having to plan for a funeral. Michael, however, kept begging his parents to let him see his sister. I want to sing to her, he kept saying. Week 2 in intensive care looked as if a funeral would come before the week was over. Michael kept nagging about singing to his sister, but kids are not allowed in intensive care. Karen decided to take Michael whether they like it or not. If he didn't see his sister right then, he may never see her alive. She dressed him in an oversized scrub suit and marched into an ICU. He looked like a walking laundry basket. The head nurse recognized him as a child and bellowed, "Get that kid out of here now! No children allowed!" The mother rose up, strong in Karen, and the usually mild-mannered lady glared steel-eyed right into the head nurse's face, her lips a firm line. "He's not leaving until he sings to his sister," she stated. Then Karen told Michael to his sister's bedside. He gazed at the tiny infant losing the battle to live. After a moment, he began to sing. In a pure-hearted voice of a 3-year-old Michael, he sang, "You are my sunshine, you my only sunshine. You make me happy when the skies are gray." Instantly, the baby girl seemed to respond. The pulse rate began to come down and become steady. "Keep on singing," Michael encouraged Karen with tears in her eyes. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." As Michael sang to his sister, the baby's rugged, strained breathing became smooth. "Keep on singing, sweetheart. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms." Michael's little sister began to relax as healing rest, seemed to sweep over her. "Keep on singing, Michael." Tears had now conquered the face of the bossy head nurse. Karen glowed. "You're my sunshine, my only sunshine. Please don't take my sunshine away." The next day, the very next day, the little girl was well enough to go home. Women's Day magazine called it the miracle of a brother soul. The medical staff just called it a miracle. You know what, friends? Whatever we have, it may be a little song, it may be a little kindness, it may be a little help, it may be a little money, it may be a little pat on the back. Yet, the very little thing, if we bring it to Jesus, He can make a miracle out of it. Brothers and sisters, listen to this. To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. Never, never, never underestimate what you can do to a brother or a sister. Never underestimate. Because if your heart is pure, God can make something great out of it. Whatever little we've got. So the Lord Jesus Christ took the bread, blessed it, broke the loaves, and gave them to His disciples. He gave them to the people, and then a wonderful thing took place. The disciples were witnessing before their very eyes the power of Jesus, the bread of life, to feed people who are hungry. Friends, what's the lesson here from this miracle? When you are hungry, Jesus is there to give that provision. I don't know what your hunger is these days. Maybe you're hungry for something. Maybe you need some comfort right now. Maybe you need a little understanding. Maybe you need some intimacy. Maybe you need a job. Whatever that hunger is, friends, God, the Lord Jesus Christ, can provide for those needs. You see, that emptiness that we feel is God's way of allowing us to experience God's riches, resources to be filled into us. And so people are born with that need. There's that God-shaped vacuum in the hearts of all people. And we Christians, we have found the answer. We know the cure. But sometimes we're just too busy in the whirlwind of activities that we fail to notice, we fail to detect that hunger in the hearts of people. And I know as a parent, as a dad, you know, I failed so much in this area, failing to detect the needs of my daughter, the needs of my son, the needs of my wife. And you know, I can be so busy in the ministry and giving in to the needs of a lot of people and yet failing in this very area. You know, a lot of times I feel ashamed. I was telling my wife one time, you know, sometimes I just feel ashamed just preaching here because I know deep in my heart that I have my own struggles. What right do I have to tell you about things when I myself is messed up? And yet, friends, I'm not here to prove that I'm better than you. I'm here to share with you that we can journey together. You and I are failing, but God is always there to provide for our needs. We just have to be sensitive enough to detect those needs. That obviously, to just share something, detect that need. That relative who just wrote to you an email, detect that need. There's that hunger, and Jesus said, you give them that food. You have the answer. It is our responsibility to provide provision for those people who are in need. When people are hungry, He gives His provision. But secondly, when people are helpless, He gives His presence. When people are helpless, He gives His presence. The second miracle that we find here is the Lord Jesus Christ walking on the water. Verses 45 and 46, it reads, immediately Jesus made His disciples to get into the boat and go on ahead of Him to Bethsaida, while He dismissed the crowd. After leaving them, He went up on a mountainside to pray. So imagine the picture here. They just fed the 5,000. and then sent the disciples ahead as he dismissed the people. But he did not go with them. He went to a mountainside and then there he prayed. You know, those times when we spend time with God, that's the time when we regain the strength. That's the time when we regain perspective in life. When there's so much pressure around us, when we feel just the world is just against us, we need to find those times when we can connect with God, quiet our hearts, and just listen to Him as He smoothen the wrinkles of our souls. As all those voices in our ears are drowned by one voice, God's voice. And then it continued by saying, when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the lake, and he was alone on land. Remember, he was on the mountainside praying. He saw the disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. About the fourth watch of the night, he went out. So what's happening here is, again, most of them are fishermen. They know the situation. You know, they have the body, they have the strength to row this boat. But somehow, the wind was against them. And then it says there, the fourth watch of the night, that's when he went out. And that's between 3 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the fourth watch of the night. So in the dead of the night, the darkest night, they were straining. And by the way, the word straining there can be translated, another English word to translate that is they were tortured at the oars. You can just imagine them, they were battling a storm out there on the sea. Their arms were aching. Their bodies were just filled with pain. Why? Because they obeyed Jesus. Because Jesus said to them, go ahead, while Jesus Christ spent time with God. You know, it's not easy to obey Jesus. You and I know that it's hard to serve God. We may be tortured. We may be straining. It's hard to do the will of God. It's hard to be faithful to Jesus. You know, you want to serve God, but others, you know, they're not too quick to support you. In Tagalog, you know, experience of a pastor, sabi, hindi na ka tinulungan, pinagtulungan pa. You know, sometimes pastors, they experience that. Hindi na nga pinulungan, pinagtulungan pa.